Nothing like the next episode already playing on Disney Plus. It's one of the episodes I despise.
Well, now you're just spoiling things for the fans at home.
Yeah, because they listen to this part.
When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
Well, welcome back, good-looking people. I'm just a dad trying to remember how I like to get set up when I'm sitting on the couch. Joined as always is our other dad, Brett. Brett, how the heck
Oh,
are you?
hola! I'm doing all right. The day after Mother's Day, we had a nice Mother's Day here. How about you guys?
Mother's Day was quite lovely indeed. We had the privilege of getting to spend the whole day together, which is the good and the bad of Mother's Day.
Yeah, we enjoyed the day together, and we picked up. I was able to get Kelly something she's had her eye on for quite some time, a bird feeder with a camera in it,
I've
so she can
seen
watch her.
those.
Yes, yes, I picked one up for her, and so far it's only detected cars. So we're waiting for the birds to find it.
Oh, I'm sure they will. We put a bird feeder out ourselves, so I'm not the camera kind. I wasn't ready for that commitment, but we always enjoy having a bird feeder here and there.
Ah,
But
yes.
Brett, we decided to postpone this episode, and now we are here talking about it. Brett, do you feel ready to discuss this episode?
I think I am ready to discuss this episode, Tyler.
Well, good. Because before we have to talk about that, I have to tell you something else, Brett, and that is my wife and I, and my family, we have decided to embark on a journey. And that journey, Brett, is in a galaxy far, far away.
Really now?
hmm we are starting the Star Wars saga, starting episode one. The review from my 7-year-old is I loved it, and the review from the 2-year-old is I don't want to see the scary man with the horns, which is fair.
Understandable.
Well, we had it. We initially started on Disney Plus in the house, and then we went and we were cleaning the car a little bit because Mom's Day, you know. And then yesterday, driving to church, we let them watch, and so he did okay when he like Henry always does good if the whole focus is not the movie, but when it's just the screen and there's nothing else for him to do, he's locked into the screen and he, you know, tends to overthink about it. So, and things are a little more intense for him, which is fair.
Hmm.
So, but overall, enjoyable experience. We're gonna try watching it. I can't remember what it's called exactly. I'm really upset with myself that I don't remember, but it's a way of watching the saga where you start, you kind of like jump between the two different trilogies.
Oh yes, I've heard of that. Is that
hmm
the machete cut?
Yeah, Machete. So we're gonna watch episode four next, A New Hope, and then we'll watch. Uh, uh, we'll do Empire Strikes Back. Then we'll go back, do Clone Wars, episode three, Revenge of the Sith, and then finish it up with the final battle. I don't know if I have the heart to get into the sequel series, but if anyone will convince me to watch it, it's my boy. So we'll see how it
Well,
goes. But I figured you'd like to know that information before we got going.
well, there you go.
Have at least one heartfelt moment before we get into this episode.
Ah, this episode, yes.
Well, Brett, do you want to jump us into that synopsis?
I will. We're going to talk about the 7th episode of season 6, Everybody Loves Stuart. Now, a popular new college professor named Stuart, played by Ben Savage's real life brother Fred, is a favorite with his students because he treats them as equals. But his true colors are revealed when he hits on Topanga in her dorm room. When Cory later strikes back, literally, on behalf of Topanga, Stuart tries to have him expelled from school. This episode was written by Matthew Nelson, directed by William Russ, originally aired November 6, 1998, 1 week after the last episode, and currently enjoys an 8.7 rating on IMDb. That's just 1 full point higher than the last episode, and is currently second place in the season on based on IMDb ratings. All right, so for the Nielsen numbers, last week we had an 11.72 for our Nielsen viewers. What do you think we did this week with Fred Savage coming to town?
Well, I mean, you got the stunt casting. That's got to bump the ratings up somewhere, Brett. I mean, having both Sandwich Brothers together, I'm going to take a leap, Brett, and say we jumped at least 3 points. So let's go like that 14 range.
You are just there, 13.99, which is actually, this is the highest rated in the Nielsen numbers for the entire season. Highest rated, highest viewed episode for the season. So there you go. The stunt casting did it. Everyone wanted to see what Fred and Ben did.
I mean,
Yeah.
I will say they have very interesting chemistry when it's just the two of them alone.
They do. It's actually the third time they've worked on a project together. They were both in an episode of The Wonder Years and both in a movie, Little Monsters, together.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they were both much younger then. Yeah, but that is our.
It's interesting that they don't do anything together afterwards.
Yeah, it is. Would have been interesting. I would have been interested to see them do more together. But that is our synopsis, and that is all of our lead ups. So, what do you got for us, Jonathan Cumberland?
Well, Brett, now that we can actually get started, we start off in a classroom, a different looking classroom.
Yes.
This is the type of classroom where everyone's kind of an equal, like there's a riser on both sides. Good for discussions.
It is. It's a good design for discussion. I call a little bit of foul on the fact that there are students sitting on the floor and standing room only for students. I don't know of a college in existence that would overbook seats in a classroom like that.
But Brett, this is a new age, like,
A
hey,
hip
if you want to sit on the
new
floor, you want to stand, you do what you want to do.
Yes, and let me get Stuart's IMDb here. Fred Savage, of course, we already mentioned him. Only time he'll show up on Boy Meets World. 58 acting credits. Productions like The Twilight Zone, The Princess Bride, Little Monsters, The Wonder Years, Seinfeld, The Outer Limits, Austin Powers, and Goldmember, Law and Order SVU, Robot Chicken, Modern Family, Super Troopers 2, The Connors, and more. Yeah, there's this free will versus predestination debate going on in class, it seems.
Yeah, those classic things that every freshman class ends up talking about.
Oh, yes. It's a very, very surface philosophy debate. God, are we to assume that Stuart is a philosophy professor?
I mean, you could.
Because it didn't seem like the paper he wanted to talk about was a philosophy paper. It seemed like it was an ethics paper.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's my bold guess as what he is actually there to do. I think he's supposed to be doing an English 101 class. And the whole point for him is you need to think about what you're doing. It's not just about do I have the right type of grammar, but what I'm trying to say.
So we think he's trying. He's Feeney 2.0, basically.
No, I think he's just a young, dumb professor who doesn't know how dumb he is.
Well, I mean, yes, that's a given. But teaching style.
I mean, in this show, Brett, we never know what anyone's actually ever teaching. It's
Oh
just
no.
they're in a classroom, there's a discussion they're having. The one good thing about Girl Meets World is they make clear Cory is a history teacher.
Very true. They do have that going for them.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the few things they have going for them.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a nice big discussion on free will. Do we have free will? Do we not have free will? I, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of Cory leaves his house, gets hit by a bus. What if I don't leave the house? Bus still hits you. It's like that bus is going to come into my house.
Yeah, it was I mean, it's a fun discussion. You know, if I got a wife like Topanga, I'm not leaving the house. Bus hits you anyway.
Yeah. I will say, of course, this is another example in this moment of Shawn's a bad friend because all he says is, I'll miss you, buddy.
Yeah. And and that ranks kind of low on my Sean's a bad friend though, because that's
We'll
just
get more into why Shawn's a
joviality.
bad friend. Don't
Oh
you worry.
yes, I'm sure we will. That one ranks low on my chart though.
So we go back and forth on this whole good free will, not free will, predestination, blah blah blah.
There is
And
a line from Topanga that I do like that kind of sticks out for where the episode goes. If we don't challenge our leaders, we don't have a right to complain how they lead.
yeah, I agree with that. Very interesting you bring that up now, Brett, in our current day and
Yes.
age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always tell my kids, if you don't vote, don't have a right to complain about the people that get voted into office.
Yep. Um, Stuart hands back papers and says something I've never heard a college professor ever say, which is, "Hey, I got your papers. Most were bad. This isn't high school."
I have had one professor that almost took joy in informing us that we did poorly on tests. He was a biology professor who was not at Geneva very long. And I had a bio major in the class that was just taking it for an easy elective credit. She almost failed the class. This was how bad this was. This is how bad an instructor this guy was. But he was almost proud to hand the class back tests and announce that almost no one passed. So I've had one. We were always able to turn back in tests with the correct answer to ones we missed, why it was the correct answer, and where we found this correct answer, and get half credit for that answer. So that's how we were all able to pass the class, is on corrections.
Sarah unfortunately had a professor her senior year who also did biology who just could not talk down a level to help those who are just taking the class so they can graduate and just start their journey or into biology. Like they just could not talk at a lower intelligence level.
Yeah, it's rough.
I mean, at least the one professor you and I can think of from our department, at least he was a kind enough human being to try.
Oh, yes. And he succeeded for the most part, in my mind. There were still things that he just could not connect on that lower, that next rung down the ladder, but he at least tried.
Um. Anywho, we go to the student union, Brett. This magical place,
Mm-hmm.
the student union, where Cory and Topanga really start having more of their moments outside of just the underpants. Um,
Yes.
Cory, Shawn, Topanga, and Angela are all getting coffee with Stuart.
Underpants.
Yeah, and also Eric, Jack, and Rachel are there.
First time we're
Apparently,
seeing all of these people together.
yeah, they're all together. Brett, isn't that incredible?
It
I
is.
don't think we spent any time in the apartment this week.
I don't think we do, no.
Yeah.
I think it's student union, classroom, dorm rooms, and whatever room serves as the courtroom.
Conference room.
It's a redressed classroom, basically, is what it is.
Yeah. Probably that classroom they had just took off the
That's exactly why the
levels.
risers were there.
Yeah. So yeah, they're just chit chatting away, and Topanga's giving out some innocent information about herself, saying that hey, she likes it here and enjoying herself, and her dorm is lousy, and gives the specific name of the dorm. Says that her and Angela are roommates. Um, it
Mm-hmm.
was odd that he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna need more hands." Topanga, you come help me.
Yeah, a little bit odd that he singles her out to come. Granted, let's play this out, and we'll say 1990, late 90s world will be feminist, and we'll play this out. He's not just assuming that it has to be a big, strong man. It can be a
Mhm.
strong, independent woman to help carry the heavy coffees, but still odd.
Oh yes, but also Brett. There's two other people at the student union: Dean
Oh yes,
Bullender and Feeny.
Feeny, Feeny getting coffee with the dean.
I do love that she's like, "Hey, what are you drinking?" And he goes, "Oh, I can't." She goes, "No, seriously, what are you drinking?" And he, laments, and then says, "Can I also get a scone?"
I'm not made of money, Feeny.
Right. Which I will say, I always appreciate when someone's like, "Hey, let me cover your coffee, let me cover your drink." I'll go, "Okay, that's very nice of you," but it's like, but you understand, if I'm sitting somewhere at a table, I want a treat while I'm there. So it's like, it's nice for you to cover that. I'm still going to need something else, so I might as well just pay for myself, and hey, I'll pay for you too.
Yeah, it's like I was planning on getting a scone with my coffee today. I appreciate the offer, but I was going to get a scone too.
Exactly. And Brett, we get to the MVP of the episode.
Ah, yes. Eric
Well,
has a fifth sense about this guy.
yeah. Well, first, Eric says out loud, "Man, wouldn't you like to come home to that?" Referring to Rachel. And Jack goes, "You do. That's Rachel."
You
And Rachel just nonchalantly
unbelievable.
walks over. I think Rachel has come accustomed to just Eric overtly saying, "Hey, look, that's my beautiful roommate." Like, she's just like, "It's nice that he says that I'm beautiful. Like, it's nice he appreciates me. In no way are his actions does she take as crossing any lines.
Yes. I mean, she knows face to face he's an open book to her, and she knows
Mhm.
that she knows he finds her attractive. She also knows that he wants her friendship more than anything.
So on the couch, we have Jack, Shawn, and Rachel who just popped in. And Rachel and Shawn are never shown on the couch at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So either the actors weren't there at the same time, or the the show doesn't want them to be seen all together all at once, which is so
Mm-hmm.
fascinating.
It is. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder if that was a William Russ choice in his directing style, or if it was a hey, I don't want them all in the same shot.
Yeah, was that William or was that Michael? That's really ultimately what it comes down to.
Hmm. But yeah, Eric gives a little nod of approval to Feeney about you know have a coffee with the dean.
Yeah, yeah, Beanie.
Yeah, but Shawn is being a jerk to his former roommate, kind of saying that like eventually you have to move on from him and you have to be willing to let other people teach you, and it's like in canon world, Feeney or not Feeney, who is it? Eric is what I'm talking about. Eric has been in college at least a year,
Mm-hmm.
so he has had at least give or take 8 other professors so far.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and I don't think Sean's privy to the type of mentor relationship that Eric has with Feeney.
right.
I think Sean just sees him as latched onto him as a teacher. He doesn't get to see all of the deeper aspects of that friendship.
Hmm. Well, Sean's relationship with Feeney was always a you got to do this, you got to do this. I don't want to. You got to do this, you got to do this. I don't want to.
Mhm. Yeah, and Sean stepped into a world where a professor is a lot different than just a teacher.
Hmm.
And the college educational atmosphere is a lot different than the high school and the elementary and the middle school educational atmosphere. So Sean is having a completely he's having a renaissance when it comes to education.
Yeah.
And so for him, he's also got that freshman arrogance with him that a lot of college
Oh my
students get when
gosh.
they step in.
Freshman arrogance is the worst. Um, yeah, but I
Oh,
like how,
speaking as someone who did freshman orientation for a couple of years, oh yes, it's the worst.
but I do love Eric's addition to this that his fifth sense helps him know that he is bad news.
Oh yes, trust him on
So
it.
Eric is on the nose that Stewart is not a good person. Good
Yeah.
frickin' night. Sorry. So many ads. Okay, so yeah, we go to Brett, odd place, but Angela and Topanga's dorm room, and who should
Mhm.
knock but Stewart?
Yeah.
Now, Brett, I know what my experience was in college, and I know my wife's experience in college. You and Kelly ever have a professor just like drop into your dorm room to talk about paper?
No, my professors, when the day was done, they went home because they wanted to be with their families.
Mm-hmm.
Even the young ones wanted to get home because they had other things to do other than just hang out on campus all evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sure, there were some professors who would meet up with smaller groups, who might lead a small group, or who might have, they might have a club that they're involved in that they would meet somewhere on campus in a dining hall or in another building. But to just drop in a dorm room just because, no, I never experienced that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I saw one of my professors one time go into my dorm and then immediately come back out. Like, I legit think it's one of those things where an upperclassman who is also living in the freshman dorm because he was rooming with the RA. I think he didn't show up to class, And so he busted through to be like, "Hey, you didn't show up to class. What's the deal?" And then came back out.
We had a block party. We had a couple of block parties at our house, and that's about the only time that any of our professors showed up at our house. So,
Yeah, fair. So yeah, apparently Angela and Topanga, we're going to go back over to the student union. Now this might be a different day. It's hard to say with the way that they're dressed, but apparently they're going over to the student union because going back and forth between the dorm and student union, that's a normal thing, right, Brett?
oh yeah, it's. I would say there's not probably not a whole lot of different places to go on campus just to hang out.
You know,
They're
but
young,
also
broke college students.
this student union is made out to be almost like the cool hangout place that everybody goes to. And our student union, I'm not gonna lie, Brett, was a nice place, but you either were there to study, eat, or you were there because there was an event. You didn't just go and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would
Um,
say this is the same day. I'm looking at screen caps right now. These are identical costume
right.
choices. So I'd say this is the exact same day. It's just later on in the day.
Um, Brett, it's hard. It's gonna be hard for us to talk about this scene because this is the pinnacle scene of the importance. I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to brush through it too quickly, but I also don't want to take too much time into this. So I would say at this moment, if you are someone listening who has a tough time hearing and talking about any sort of uh, sexual misconduct, sexual assault, or anything in that nature, um, please go ahead and step away because this is important for us to talk through. So, Brett, would you like to add anything before we start talking about this scene?
Only that for those that are listening that might struggle with some of this, I will do my best in the show notes to put the next chapter marker after our discussion here that you can just skip ahead to.
Yep. And I will also say that most of the deep dives are just about awareness and ways to get resources, and so all those will be shared with Brett also, so we can be at aid however we can be and be supportive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of our goals as dads, as men, is to be a safe place. Um, we want to help protect people, but also it's up to you to take those steps and to be there for your people. So, but we are
Mm-hmm.
here to be supportive. So, oh gosh, even that phrasing right there. The first thing is that Stuart kind of puts Angela on a defensive. Like he says, Angela, I don't have your paper. We can discuss that later if you'd like. Um, you know, she goes, oh no, that's cool. And Topanga's like, oh yeah, we're off to the student union. Like, why don't you go ahead and go, and he and I can discuss paper, blah blah blah. And Angela says, basically like, okay, like you guys behave yourselves in here. Or so she says, leave the door open.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think she can tell already it's a weird situation, and her friend is not ready for the interaction that she's going to have.
Yeah, because clearly he wasn't just in the neighborhood. He stopped by with one of the two papers that live in that room.
Uh huh. And if he really wanted to be a good professor stopping by to talk about a paper in a dorm room, he could have also stopped at her boyfriend's as well.
Oh, yes. He would have had more than just one paper with him.
Yeah. So anywho, he first talks about a picture and about what's this, and she says, "Oh, we were at Martha's Vineyard," and Stuart, says, "Oh, so pretty." Well, it's just that she is pretty, meaning her mom.
Hmm.
And then Stuart gestures towards the bed for her to sit down. He sits at her desk and talks about how a statement she makes is gray and it's vague, and you need to be more specific. The devil is in the details.
Hmm.
And he sits right beside her. And one of the by far most frustrating things is someone in authority sitting beside someone who is 18, who is, yes, an adult, but sitting beside a teenager, a young lady, and says, "I'm your teacher and I think you're attractive. We're talking about your paper. Have we crossed a line?" And Topanga confusedly says, "I don't think so." "I'm sorry. To say the words, 'I find you attractive,' is crossing a line."
Yeah, you are a person in authority over her, and there is never a time where it's appropriate in that relationship to say something like that.
Right.
Never.
Yeah. Not not right off the get-go, I would also say. There's a difference between, like, say someone, if she were to work at the student union and had a student supervisor who they flirt together and they hang out, and after a semester or two they go, "Hey, just so you know, I have a crush on you." That's one thing. But a full-grown man in a full authority stepping into this room that's supposed to be her safe place, you're in the wrong already, Stewart.
Yes, completely.
Yeah.
And this is a practiced, calculated visit.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And then he says, "Oh, I think you're attractive, and we're not talking about your paper." And Topanga is confused immediately.
I'm very uncomfortable.
Yes. He makes it clear, "I want to see you more than just on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Which, sidebar, kudos that they know that there's classes that go Tuesdays and Thursdays only. That's a nice
Mhm.
little piece in there. Bowing back to the main important part, that's creepy.
Yeah, especially considering he knows her fiance is in that class, even though Cory forgets and calls her his girlfriend all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Stewart is very much aware they are engaged and not just dating.
Yeah, so all of this now, uh, watching this first run, I never caught on to just how sinister Stewart is and just how practiced and how premeditated all of this is on his part.
Mm-hmm.
But what's his end game too, with knowing that Topanga has a fiance? She is already engaged to someone to be married. What is his end game? Is his end game what happens?
I mean, my understanding is most often, a lot of times, these situations occur because they crave power, and I think he just wants to be able to have some control over Topanga.
Hmm,
As
very
sad and
possible.
simple and easy as that I think it is, honestly. Yeah. So anywho, he goes back to the picture and says, "Oh, so when did you go on the trip?" And Topanga's like, "It was 2 summers ago." And then he goes back to being right beside her and even touches her hair, which she is
Hmm.
repulsed by and is trying to move away from. And she says very clearly, "Stuart, you're making me uncomfortable. I want you to leave." And then he says, "That's not what you want."
Hmm.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
I can say those exact words to my wife when it comes to her Taco Bell order, but never have I ever told her that's not what you want. How do I know what someone else wants? Especially when someone says, "This is what I want."
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff is piling up against Stuart.
Uh
He didn't
huh.
come into the scene in the best of ways, and every time he opens his mouth, he just keeps building a case against himself.
Hmm. Um, one of the big things, because my wife and I were going through this episode, and I basically said, "Hey, I'm all ears. You tell me what you want to say." One of the things that she said was that this is something that he has done. Like he almost has this um, this is a system for him. Like this is something he does a lot. Like he
Hmm.
knows what to do in this situation to put her where she is and to push the envelope.
Yeah, I almost feel like I'm in an episode of SVU.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like he's done an episode of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Strangely enough.
So yeah, Cory walks in, like, hey, if I wasn't such a trusting fiance, boyfriend, I'd be worried. And we clock this also of he then almost grabs her head and like kind of pushes it a little bit forcefully. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, do you think like 5 minutes before this, if he had kind of put his hand on her head like that, she wouldn't think anything of it. But after this interaction, she's like, oh my gosh, no, don't ever touch me ever again. And I
Hmm.
like that she makes clear, I didn't like him being here. I didn't like it at all. And Cory, no longer singing praises for him, no longer trying to be funny or witty. He just says, what's wrong? You okay?
Yeah.
Would we like more
Um,
there? Absolutely. But is he a very concerned boyfriend fiance right now? Absolutely.
yeah. And I'll say I think for anyone who, and one of the most frustrating things in this situation, and sadly for a lot of what we had seen in real life, is that a lot of this stuff can far too often go unreported. And a lot of what we get in this episode is the details are buried until the very end. And even then, we don't get a lot of details out in the open. We get very vague items thrown around. But if anyone who was still standing by Stewart's side when the hearing begins, even though Dean Bolander doesn't, she says is not one. When that begins, anyone who was still supportive of Stewart at all, if they could have seen what had happened in that room, I don't think a single one of them would still be on his side.
Yep. Very fair. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think to close out this scene, I'll leave this scene with kind of the thing that my wife was really thinking a lot about, and that is that Topanga has been around mostly men of good trust, good
Mm-hmm.
men who will take care of her and be kind to her. You know, her father in the interactions we saw him before was a halfway decent guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Alan is a
a little bit
solid man.
scatterbrained, but
Yeah,
still, he was a largely stand-up guy who
exactly.
cared for her,
Alan
brought
is a
her up
rock
well.
solid man. Eric,
Mm-hmm.
has never put her in a bad position. She has a good boyfriend. Like, she has never
Mm-hmm.
been in an environment that we've seen on camera of her being in a dangerous position.
Yeah.
Hit on, yes, but um, not what's it intimidated, I would say.
Yeah.
So we then transition Brett to the student union again,
Hmm.
and you got Rachel, Shawn, Angela, Jack, Eric, Cory, and Topanga all sitting around the couch talking. So you got everybody there. Again,
Yep.
this is
Yeah.
the first episode where Rachel, Eric, and Jack are all together with them in the student union. Rachel's interacting with everybody, both Angela and Shawn, and Topanga's there too. And no one's even mentioning the fact of, hey, Rachel, it's nice to get to know you.
Yeah. We assume that she's already gotten to know everyone.
Yeah. So we go through, they're playing a game where you figure out your soap opera name based on your middle name and the street you live on. Sarah was a little disappointed with Shawn's answer because trailer parks do have names.
They do, but his might not have. His from what we saw of his trailer park, it might not have been big enough to have street names.
Maybe. I don't know. But I like that Cory sees Stewart and immediately goes, we need to talk about this. And he goes, okay. And you go to talk, and Stewart thinks he needs to talk about the paper. And he starts telling him, hey, it was pedestrian. This isn't high school anymore. Again, that's a weird phrase that keeps coming up this episode. This isn't high school. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking about the paper. And Cory makes it clear of you made Topanga feel uncomfortable. And she said you were hitting on her. And he goes, yeah?
What if
What
I
if I
was?
was? And Cory is probably the first time we see him actually be mad now because we saw him concerned, potentially being on a sad side, and now we're seeing anger.
Yeah. We're seeing someone he cares for is been targeted,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't know what he can do to protect her from that.
Yeah,
Uh, he doesn't know what his options are. He doesn't know that he has any options,
yeah,
and so the only thing he can think of to do is to lash out.
yeah, yeah. So they're going back and forth with the game. Crazy. Sorry, going back and forth on what everyone's names are, and Topanga's just quiet. And Jack's trying to get him on. Come on, what's your name? Because I don't want to play. I don't want to do this. I have a weird middle name. And Jack trying to be, being a fun guy, trying to be like, what's your middle name? Shabubu? Shabogi? And I like that throughout this whole interaction, you see in the background, Cory is yelling at Stewart, and he is
Hmm.
expressing emotions, and Stewart is mostly not moving himself.
Yeah, he knows that he doesn't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Anything happens here, it's just his word against Corey's. So
Yep.
clearly, Topanga has not said anything to anyone in authority, or he would have been called into someone's office by this point.
Yeah. I mean, and now, if this literally is all just happening right at this moment, I get it. Like,
Hmm.
if
But this
literally,
is this is at least the next day.
right, hopefully. Anywho, Stewart goes flying through the door. No better way of
Hmm.
putting it. And he says, congratulations, you just got yourself kicked out of college. And now we turn the episode away from Topanga was sexually harassed, to Cory might get kicked out of school. What is he gonna
Yeah,
do?
that's a sharp heel turn.
It is, and I will say this is an episode I've I've had a weird relationship with because there's so much I love in this episode, but gosh, the turn from Topanga is a victim to Cory is now the victim. it's frustrating.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because they both very much are victims of Stuart.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality. But we really only get any justice for one of them. And that's not real full justice. Cory's only going to get suspended for a day. There's no addressing what he did to Topanga at all.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond, I'm going to look into you. That's the whole of it.
Yeah.
So yes, Cory does become a victim of Stewart's game,
Mm-hmm.
and we do get some semblance of justice for him. But
Yeah.
it is very frustrating that we get nothing on Topanga's end.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I like how we are in Cory and Shawn's apartment dorm room, and the first thing Shawn says to his friend throughout this whole thing is, "How could you do this to Stuart?"
Yeah, I actually did clip part of this conversation while they were in the dorm room here.
Please.
Most of the times when you spin out of control, it's funny, but this time I think you went too far. You know, you get in trouble for this, Cory.
Hey, no matter what happened, we're behind you, no matter what happened.
The first time in my life I hit somebody, and it's a teacher.
Oh,
You idiot! I thought you had a student.
oh, what on earth could have possessed you to do this, Cory? You hit a teacher?
What did he say? Did he threaten you?
No,
Did he hit you?
no.
Well, what did he do?
He made a move on Topanga.
In the class?
No, in her dorm room.
Okay, I saw the whole thing. I can testify in court. That teacher hit, I repeat, hit young Cory Matthews.
No, I hit him, Eric.
Yeah, I know, I saw him, man. That dude sailed. Look, Mom, Dad, you know about my fifth sense, right?
You told us about it, yes.
Well, I'm telling you something. It's working overtime right now. I can feel it in my veins, you know? This guy's bad.
Yeah, normally when you spin out, it's funny, but this time it's just too far.
Mm-hmm. And here's my problem with the episode, Brett. My love and hate relationship with this episode. Eric, and I'll say the actor of Eric,
Will
I'm looking at his name right now.
Friedle.
Will Friedle, yes, thank you. Will Friedle's performance in this episode is amazing. Emmy worthy performance this episode. I'm going to say it. Literally, his timing could not be any better. When he enters, when he does stuff, because he sucks up all the air in the room. I think for Topanga is welcome right now because then they're not addressing her. She's still processing all that had just happened to her. But yeah, he comes in and just all the attention becomes onto him. And because I think Amy and Alan, if Eric hadn't showed up the way he did, would have made their focus on Topanga and supporting Cory.
Mm-hmm. But they need that levity. They need that joke.
They do. I mean, and I will say this episode is pretty well balanced. But gosh,
it's a frustrating episode because it's well written, it's well balanced. It's not a bad episode from a structural level or from a conceptual level, but it's frustrating in that in those deeper levels that we've already addressed.
Yep. Well, and it feels like this episode doesn't want to do what it did not last season, the year prior, where they would have these more serious episodes, and it's all very serious because I think they want to end on a more lighthearted note. But gosh, why can't we sit in that uncomfortable seriousness for a little bit? Because we just don't.
No, instead we have to have Eric try to get Rachel or Jack to entrap Stuart.
Yeah. And that's annoying. I do love that that Feeney walks in and he's complaining, and I clocked when he's like talking, like you can't talk. She's the dean of the Stooges. You can't talk to her. He is pointing at Shawn. Like when he's saying it, the way he's looking at Shawn, saying, "You can't can't talk to her. She won't listen to you."
Yeah, well, I have rules too, Missy.
Because the dean can hear him in there.
Oh, yes. Because, they're in the dorms where, her
But they
office,
make
of
clear
course,
they're going
would
to
be.
have just a hearing on what should happen, like what happened, what should be any punishments for Cory, and go from there.
Yep.
Now, I will say I like that my wife definitely said, I mean, there should be like a actual investigation into the whole thing. But sure.
Mm-hmm.
TV shows got
And
TV.
there should be. And of course, this was 1998. This was a 22-minute episode that we don't have the structure or the time to get into a hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an investigation. So a hearing is what we will get.
Yes. We do get the weird Eric, Jack, and Rachel scene where the three of them are together. They're not with anyone else. And so they have to have a joke here. And so Rachel goes over there to hit on Stuart. Stuart rejects her, and she has an outburst. And I think this is one of those times when they use Rachel in a very poor way.
Oh, completely.
Like
I reject you. You won't reject
yeah,
me.
they want to add humor to this, but I keep playing through my head, Brett. Why is Rachel, who's either a sophomore or a junior, outside of boyfriend, why does she have no other friends besides Eric and Jack? Like no other friends?
And perhaps more importantly in this moment, does she not realize how damaging it could be for her to attempt to seduce a faculty member?
Yeah. So I have two pitches, Brett. I'm going to throw them out here right now because I don't want to talk about the scene. I just don't. My two pitches are either she Rachel was the last victim of Stuart, that she tried to complain about him and no one believed her because everybody loves Stuart. So she even tried to complain to her boyfriend and her boyfriend blew it off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons that she decided to leave him was because she knew his actions were inappropriate. She got him to stop, but it cost her everything. That's one way of going about it. The other way of going about it is that Rachel is actually a pre-law student, and we learn more about her this episode. And so she realizes that there's something wrong with Topanga. She talks to her, and actually the hearing is not on Cory actions, but actually on Stuart's actions. And representing Topanga is not Feeney, but is actually Rachel.
I prefer the second take.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's not spend too much time.
Why empower our female characters, Brett? I get it.
I know. But Stuart does attempt to gaslight Topanga into, you came on to me.
Yes. One of the things my wife kept saying is, that's gaslighting, that's gaslighting, that's gaslighting, that's gaslighting, that's gaslighting.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Dean Boulder starts it off saying, hey, this isn't a courtroom, this is not a drama, like, this is just a hearing. Cue the dramatic music playing at the people's court.
Dun, dun, dun.
You're on Jonathan Cumberland for the defense.
Oh, it's one of my favorite moments in all of Boy Meets World.
The Eric bits are on point. That's part of the problem.
They are. They're just too perfect.
Uh-huh.
Eric and Feeney, Eric. but mostly Feeney.
Eric's being Eric, and Feeney gets frustrated with him. Dean just says, "What happened?" They keep saying just
Unbelievable.
Stuart. Brett, as a former college student, did that not frustrate you that everyone kept referring to him as just Stuart, not
Oh yeah,
Mister,
totally.
not Professor, just Stuart?
Yeah, I really wanted to know what his last name was, period, because I can't think of any. I can't see Dean Bolander just refer to him as Stewart. She would have had to have referred to him as by his last name. Mr. Feeney would have had to have referred to him by his last name.
Right.
I mean, come on, it's rare that he calls Cory Cory. It's almost always Mr. Matthews.
Right.
So why is he just Stewart to everyone? Does he not have his doctorate? So he can't be doctor, but you're still Mr.
Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, he describes the situation from his perspective that he's just an innocent teacher who was hoping to talk about a grade he gave to Cory, and out of nowhere he just hits him. You know how in TV shows they refer to pushing and hitting all the same thing.
Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like last season when Cory hit his father and knocked him down.
Yeah.
Father of Alan the Bruised.
I like how Feeney just kind of always wants to go back to, you were in her bedroom. Why?
I really enjoyed Feeney's cross-examination, so I clipped it if we want to hear it.
Yeah.
Did you really think it was proper? I mean, I'm talking now simple human propriety. To be in a young female student's bedroom.
A dorm room also serves as a living room, or a TV room, or a study. It was not a bedroom when I was in there.
Stuart, do you believe as a college professor that it's okay to be alone in a dorm room with a young female student?
The door was open. I even asked a roommate to stay. In fact, it was Topanga who shooed Angela away. Isn't that right, Topanga?
She was on her way to the student union. I didn't feel
Thank
any
you.
need.
Any more questions, George?
Just one. Is it okay if I rip off your head and roll it down the hallway?
George.
But that look from Eric in the background when he asks about ripping his head off and rolling down the hallway is just perfect.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But it's really murky because everything Stuart is saying lines up legalistically.
Uh-huh.
Yes, a dorm room is more than just a bedroom. It functions multi-purpose. Yes, he did invite Angela to stay, and it was Topanga who told her to leave. Yes, the door was open.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he went there, quote unquote, with the intention of discussing a paper. But I mean, that's just to cover his bases. That's just to cover his butt.
Yeah. I mean, everything about his actions is just really scummy.
Yeah.
And the way he's defending himself.
Yeah. He's just slimy. And if there's anyone in the room that can't see that after all of this goes down, they need to have their eyes checked.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, one thing that bothers me with Dean Bolander in this episode is when Topanga tries to get involved, sitting at the desk, mind you, and she tries to say, and your show of disrespect undermines me, and Miss Dean Bolander tries to reprimand her, Miss Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So she's talking out of term. Every other person who's spoken so far, all men who've spoken, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time that Topanga tries to bring it up, it's shut down.
Well, that's because this hearing's about Cory's actions, not Stuart's actions towards Topanga.
Right. That's a huge difference.
Oh, yes. That would be a different hearing.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, I understand Corey's actions in all of this, that he made a move on her and he felt he had to do something.
Mm-hmm.
In the 90s terms, he is right. I think he's right on the money on what he felt was appropriate. Someone in authority was trying to take advantage of the person I love, and he said it didn't matter what I did, he wasn't going to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't do the right thing, but I know I did the right thing.
And Shawn's okay with it.
Yeah, Shawn's okay with it. Yeah, outside of this little speech he gives in this moment, Brett, I am still so bothered by Shawn's actions this whole episode. At no point does he check in on his friend, Topanga, who was, you know, uh, she was definitely, oh my gosh. Sexual assault keeps coming to mind, but I know that's not necessarily what happened. Um, trying to make sure I'm saying the actual right thing. He was sexually harassed,
Mm-hmm.
100%. Um, and he has no care for that. All he cares about is poor Stuart. Now Stuart acts like a jerk, so Cory gets or he's back on Cory and Topanga's side, of course. But he just it feels a little too late from my vantage point. But
Mm-hmm.
they're a very forgiving bunch.
Yeah, his vocal support of his friends is too little too late, is what it boils down to.
Yeah. If they weren't such good friends, I would say they should never talk to him again based on the way he acted in this whole thing.
Yeah.
But Dean Bollinger, I do like what she says. A teacher or professor must be someone a student can trust. The second that teacher or professor uses pressure on a student for any reason whatsoever other than academics, that trust is destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And like she points to Feeney and says, "This man over here is a teacher or professor." She goes, "I'm not sure what you are, but I'm certainly going to figure it out."
Mm-hmm. And we never find out what he is, because we never return to that story thread again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Amy does approach Topanga afterwards, saying that she's sorry she had to deal with this, and Alan seems relieved because Cory
Mm-hmm.
is sorry. Let's just say Cory is suspended for a day,
Yes. A
which
day.
the way that college calendars work, like literally, could be no issue whatsoever for him.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure, based on what the dean heard, she probably made sure that day fell on a day where he really had no real classes to deal with anyway.
Now, I will say, I think this poses a big question that this show will never take time to answer. Excuse me. Which is, you have a class that even if the professor doesn't get fired, you have now a potential conflict of interest for half, if not the whole class. How do they rectify that for grades?
Yeah, there's no way that at least a third of this class is going to be guaranteed fair grading, even if they want to remain in the class.
Yeah.
And if they drop this class, they've got to pick up another class. And here we are, November. We're 2 months into the school year. It's really too late to pick up another class for this term.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do to handle all this?
Yeah. I mean, my only guess would be that they either have a proxy for the rest of the year or have someone else grade all of their paperwork.
They'll give the class to Feeney.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it could be a humanities class, Brett.
It could be. They'll just slide into a different humanities discussion class.
Maybe. Yeah, but Feeney gives this whole speech about how you're all not children anymore, and this is a major university, and you know, I trust you all. And they're all like, "We're not kids anymore. What do you want to do now? Go get
We go
ice
get ice
cream?"
cream?
By the way, adults can always get ice cream,
Oh,
but
totally. I just went and got ice cream with Kelly a couple days ago.
the simple fact of the episode ends on a happy note because they Feeney recognizes them as adults now, so they need to be able to flourish as little butterflies, and we still haven't really resolved the fact that Topanga was sexually harassed. We don't got time for that, Brad.
Oh, of course not. We've got a whole tag that is just music to address.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't remember the original broadcast, but there's nothing about if you have dealt with this at all, then call this number, yada yada. So,
No, not that I remember.
but I don't know. It's a complicated story, Brett, with a lot of humor thrown in there, and technically they did the best they could with the information they had.
Yeah. I will say that Rusty did a really good job directing with the story he was handed.
Yeah, fantastic job. And that, of course, Brett, is an episode.
Yes, it is. So, Tyler, do you have some deep dives for us?
I do.
People, 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 people. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
So let's start off, Brett, with 8 signs of sexual harassment. I think this is
all right.
So first would be comments about physical appearance. Stuart definitely did that quite a bit, making comments about Topanga's mom and being beautiful. And then also, I think he made a couple of comments about her as well. Stalking through digital media, that could also be a little physical. One of the things that my wife and I had a very long discussion on is, hey, he's a professor. She has a file. There's a very real possibility that he could get just about any information he needs on her pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like, even for a young professor, it's not going to be hard to find what he needs. Physical harassment are not sexual in nature. Basically, that, hey, there's touching, but it's not always going to be towards the sexual nature. And, I think of the way he was interacting with her, from holding hand to touching her hair to then like full blown holding like her head, essentially. Constant flirting without consent. No one wants to be flirted with without consent, Brett. It's pretty obvious. Romantic relationship that turns sour. Okay, that's basically like if you were in a relationship at one point and then you were no longer in a relationship. Unwelcome conversations and jokes with sexual nature. Making comments about someone potentially their skill set in the Nick area and all that jazz. The uncomfortable conversations. Saying things like, you're attractive. I'm your teacher. Is this crossing a line? I'm on your bed. Forced to play along. Someone trying to be flirty and women thinking that if they just kind of play and allow it to play out, then it'll just kind of end at some point. Retaliation for potentially reporting sexual harassment. Basically, like if you do the thing you're supposed to do, which happens a lot for many young women, that person increasing their intensity because they've not crossed a line, legally. So there's no harm in them of harassing you more.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest thing is just being more aware and making sure you are protecting yourself is the last point that is made from this website. Um, so we want to make sure that we give out a helpful, important number. So 800-799-SAFE. That's 7233. That is the national number to call for any domestic or sexual harassment whatsoever. It's the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And they will answer calls, and you can report anything you need to report. They also have a chat option, they have a text option, and even an AI chat. So they have ways of getting in contact with people 24 hours a day, and that is a thing we'll put in the tag as well. Another thing is Purple One. Purple One is a safe place finder. So across the country, there are places that will do trainings specifically about supporting people in domestic violence and sexual harassment. So if you go to their website, there are locations all over the place and places where people are affiliates. I have worked at several different places that are considered domestic violence safe places, essentially. So, and there's ways of connecting and getting the help you might need if you need to get away from your abuser, especially if they live at the same house as you.
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. I think the last thing is I saw a thing on from Rain about campus sexual violence statistics. It says that 13% of students experience sexual harassment throughout physical force, violence, or incapacitation. Among graduate professional students, 9.7% of females and 2.5% of males experience sexual assault through physical force, violence, or incapacitation. Among undergrad students, 26% of females and 6.8% of males experience sexual assault or physical force violence. So, and 5.8% of students have experienced stalking since entering college. Male college age students are 78% more likely than non students of the same age to be victims of non student same age as age of a victim of sexual assault. And female college age students are 20% less likely than non students of the same age of victims of sexual assault. So there are a bunch more statistics within here that we have no problem handing out to you and giving another resource, and that's RAIN. And they also have a call number as well. Yeah, because they are yes, they're there to help educate and help people be more aware of sexual harassment. So there are plenty of good resources out there, and plenty of people who are willing to be helpful to you. The last thing I'd like to do, Brett, if that's okay, to close us out is before we hopped on, my wife and I, we ended up chatting through the whole thing. I wrote down notes. So some of the notes that I wanted to make sure I addressed before we moved on. My dog wasn't so dang loud. One of the big things that my wife said is that Stuart is creepy. He has a creepy face. And she said, and I quote, Fred Savage is the more attractive Savage brother. But in this episode, he is full-blown creepy. So he does a good job of being creepy. The other thing is that he's hanging out with the freshmen. So no sophomores, no juniors, no seniors. Like, what's the deal with that?
Easier targets.
Yeah. Professors should not treat students as equals because students are paying to learn from said professors. Sarah want to make sure everyone understands that Eric is the smartest man in the show, and she will not take questions on that. It was a giant red flag, and he was holding a red folder, so that should have been a red flag that things were going weird.
Well, directorial.
He basically was trying to manipulate her by talking about the photo frame, especially with Mom. There's a lot of gaslighting. She felt that Cory had responded in a good way. The attitude of Stuart is someone who thinks he won't get caught. And that's part of the problem. More gaslighting. One of the big things that she was talking with me about is this. As mad as I'm going to be on making this statement, this is very accurate for what happens for a lot of women who are victims of sexual harassment. Is that they are basically blamed for whatever happened, and a lot of excuses are made for the men. And then unfortunately, it kind of gets brushed off. And if it is brought up, and if it is, tried to be fought through and to be taken serious, they get blamed for it even more so. So, as frustrated as I am for the way that everyone responded and for throwing the jokes in, outside of Eric showing around to make things happier, for most victims, she said they just kind of are quiet and that's just the way it is now for them. Which is sad and breaks my heart.
It does.
Make clear she said gaslighting a lot because that's what his whole defense was. The other big thing that Sarah really pointed out was Topanga was never really taught how to protect herself. That she grew up in a way that was very sheltered and... Come here. Yeah, we'll take this off right now. I can tell that's bothering you. Okay, y'all better now? Here, lay down. Good boy. Sorry. So yeah, she grew up very sheltered, having good boyfriend, good dad, good role models. So at no point was she ever kind of taught that, hey, you have to protect yourself, at least not that we ever see. And the fact that she's willing to just have a man be in her dorm room with her is not a good sign for her instincts.
Yeah.
And basically what my wife said was that she has to learn it's a learned behavior to protect yourself and to make sure you feel comfortable and to not put yourself in bad positions. Which is sad and breaks my heart.
Indeed.
So, Brett, those are the deep dives I have. Was there any reflection from Kelly you'd like to share?
Only that it is very sad that this happens as often as it does, and it happens really, really often.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Those are our sad dives.
They are. So let's talk about what we learned.
You know anything about the Odyssey? Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Well, I've got two very simple, brief learnings. One for those who are on the receiving end, and one for those who are in the giving end. Be wary of someone who seems to have an answer to every question. There's bound to be red flags that you need to watch out for.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are in authority, don't ever abuse your power.
Yeah.
Just don't do it. Tyler, what did you learn?
I learned that we are really good at making excuses for other people. And for not wanting to hold individuals accountable who need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It breaks my heart.
Indeed. Well.
Yeah.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
Tyler, how would you grade Everybody Loves Stuart?
This might be one of the technical best episodes the show has ever put together. It balances well the seriousness, and it has a lot of great funny moments that we've talked about for years. These bits are not ones we've had many in-depth conversations on this episode and about the jokes and how hilarious it is. And you know, my grading has been really weird this season so far, I'll admit it. And I'm having a hard time giving this episode an A plus because it definitely deserves an A plus, technically. It just bothers me through the lens of 2025 that literally Topanga gets sidetracked immediately. Like, no one cares about her struggle at all. And that breaks my heart. With that said, the level of episode this was is so much better. And the way they handle things. You okay, kitty cat? Cat just fell into the toilet. Scared the crap out of me. Yeah, I have to give the episode an A plus. As much as I want to judge it against today and how we deal with things and Topanga, poor Topanga, this was truly a fantastic, amazing episode. There's no asterisk around it. It deserves to be an A plus. It's just, it does. It's my sad A plus. I think is the way I'll put it. Like, it is technically a perfect episode, but in my dadness, Brett, I want to give Topanga a hug and protect Topanga, and let Cory deal with his own mess on his own term. Cory should have gone to someone and talked it out first before he went and punched Stuart.
I say that's he hit. I say hit that young Cory Matthews.
No, I hit him.
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
He's that dude sailed. Yeah, I mean, like we said, it's proficiently. It is at every level. It is a technical, perfect episode in its balance and its handling of its content. I really want to give it an A plus. The only thing holding me back from it is the heel turn from a Topanga story to a Cory story and no resolution for the Topanga story.
Uh-huh.
And that's not just from a 2025 lens. That's from a 1998 lens.
Yeah.
That we walk away from that storytelling narrative. So I'm going to give it a solid A.
Okay.
And
I
give
can't.
It's high marks.
Yeah, I can't fault you for that. It does bother me a lot, but it's
That might be my highest grade this season so far. I don't know. I don't
yeah,
think
it
I've given
is.
that any A pluses yet.
You've been a grumpy Gil this whole season so far.
I have been. I have been. I don't think I've given any A pluses out yet. So it's at least tied for my highest of the season. Well, Tyler, I think you owe me some dad jokes.
I believe so, Brett. Let's see what one makes you giggle. Why can't the rabbit fly home for Easter?
Why not?
He didn't have the hair fair.
I was thinking hairline, but
What do cat actors say on stage?
what?
Tabby, not tabby.
Ah, okay.
Let's see. Oh, classic. I just watched a program about beavers. It was the best damn program I'd ever seen.
Oh my.
All right. What is the worst kind of cat to have?
What kind?
A catastrophe.
Oh, yes. Well, good looking people, that's it for us this week. We hope we weren't too serious for you. We'll be back to our goofy selves next week, I'm sure.
So's Cory.
But I hope that if there's something you were struggling with yourself or that you've been faced with, that we were a benefit to you. You can reach out to us online. Send us an email at dadsmeetworld@gmail.com or reach out to us through our social media channels at dadsmeetworld across Facebook, Instagram, X. We are most active on Instagram. And you can leave us a review or a rating wherever you find your favorite podcast. That helps us to reach more people. Just lets us share the dad love. And we love to share the dad love. We're a couple of dads who love people, as grumpy as we might be sometimes. So until next time, I'll see you, good looking.
Back to you, good looking.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid? I want to be normal, spud. Underpants. Read the Bible. Oh, I am never gonna pee again. Ow, that hot. You lied to Topanga.
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.
Well, what he has for us is nothing. What Tyler has for us is also currently nothing. My script is not pulling up for some odd reason.